What's going on YouTube? Thanks for tuning into the channel. Welcome to Oh So Simplify, where I simplify life for you, because life should be simple, but simple don't mean easy. Let's jump into this one. This video right here is about the real reason why you cannot change. And I'm going to answer the question right off the bat with a simple statement. The reason you can't change is because you are making the persistent decision not to change. Now, that sounds like a very flippant type of answer, but it breaks down in a lot of different ways. And the first thing people would say is like, well, if I want to change, if I want to change and that's a desire of mine, how come I'm not changing if that's what I want? And it's because you deep down don't actually want that. Now, I want to break some things down of current ways of thinking. One that's been popularized, I know, definitely on the internet, definitely in the West, is like the Freudian kind of view. So the first thing I want to separate is the Freudian versus the Adlerian view. So Freud, Sigmund Freud, he's very popular. Definitely a lot of the things that come out of therapy nowadays, a lot of this trauma talk, a lot of that comes from Sigmund Freud's teachings in his Vienna school or Austrian school, whatever school it was. I think it's Vienna school. Adler's from Austria. But basically in that school there was another guy that was kind of a peer. The one you generally hear about is Carl Jung, who is more of like a protege of Freud. So they had more of like, a coach, athlete, mentor mentee relationship, where Adler and Freud, it was more a peer-to-peer. And they also had a severe disagreement, which kind of led him to leaving. And a lot of it was that Adler really did not believe in the whole trauma view of things, which is called etiology. And it basically causes that things that cause things make an effect. It's the reason why it's happening is because something happened in the past. So a lot of Freudian type of therapy and psychology usually get to is like, if you go to the therapy and you're depressed, they're going to try to break down what happened that made you depressed. And to be honest, I feel like generally when this is used, now I don't believe in anything's in a vacuum, so I think there's some truth to everything, but as that being your guiding principle, I feel like it gives everybody a cop-out. Like, it's never your fault. It's this thing that happened to you in the past that's your fault. And if you take it to its logical conclusion, etiology, believing in your traumas, as being the reason why you're in a bad state, basically wipes out your free will. That you're not actually making decisions. It's things that were put into motion before you started that's equaling the position that you're into now. And I actually made a video about this, and this is psychology that I've kind of ascribed more to the Adlerian side, which I'll get into a second, where I made a video, if you want to watch it, last year about screw your trauma, because it's not doing anything for you. And as I mentioned before, it eliminates your free will. Like, it removes free will from the argument, because it's saying, because my uncle touched me, that's why I'm depressed. And if that happened is a bad thing, I digress. Now, teleology, the difference is it explains the current position that you or an organism, but we're talking about humans, are in, is because it's serving a present goal. So if we kind of use, in the book that I read, it's called The Courage to Be Disliked, that introduced me to all this, he uses an example in the beginning of the book where it's like, and it's basically like this philosopher who is the Adler guy, and this guy that like this kid who's basically doesn't believe in Adler. He's kind of asking this question I'm asking. He's like, he goes, people can't change, and the philosopher's telling them they can. And then the kid gives a story about his friend who's basically a recluse that has been ostracized by his classmates, and his parents are, they're hard on him, and he doesn't have a lot of social skills. And because all this happened, he can't go out and meet people and do things. And basically Adler says it's the opposite, that actually he probably has the goal of not going out, and then he manufactures these things of anxiety, his stomach sickness and things of that sort. And essentially that there is a goal that's being served. Now, the kid, which I'm going to go into his question that'll come up in a second, a little bit deeper, is that, like, why would that be your goal? Why would you have a goal that goes against, you know, what you like ultimately want for yourself. And the real reason for this is because they're, even in a bad situation, unless you're like in a desperate situation, where I've noticed this for myself, in desperate situations I don't even have really time to think. I don't have time to be depressed. I just gotta start figuring it out. But generally when you're really stuck, there are very obvious comforts that you have now, or very predictable, whether it's emotions, predictable arguments. It's a situation that you already know how to handle. There are some good points, and that, when I say good points, it doesn't even mean necessarily like super beneficial to you, just good in the sense that you can do it routinely. You know what you're getting into. Whereas if you change, by definition, you're going to be going to an unknown realm. You're going to go to situations that you're going to have trouble even assessing if they're good or bad. And even if they're good or bad, you're not going to know how to respond to it. And then that's going to put you in a situation where now you don't even know what you don't even know. And that's generally the main thing that keeps people from changing, is that they are addicted to current comforts, current predictabilities, and they're not willing to just kill their own self. And this isn't something that's like different from other people. I mean, this whole YouTube channel is basically like a product of you seeing it manifested in somebody, because it's something I've said I've wanted to do for years now. And why do I put it off? Why do I do other things? Now, it's not like I do nothing in my life, but I always make certain excuses, and some of them might even be plausible. And this is the one that I deal with the most, and I'm going to throw it out there. It is the idea of what if. Now, if you always say, I'm busy, like for example, for the last 4 months, I've been throwing up the house. I've been trying to do, there's still other things I need to do. I'm looking at plywood in this closet right there, sheetrock over here behind me, or just all the different tools I had to buy. And I can say, I'm doing all this. I can't make a video. I can't waste time, making a video that ain't gonna make me immediate money, when it's like I'm living in a house for 4 months with no kitchen, which is, I'm living like a college student. I just bought a house. How you living like a college student? It sounds crazy. You make those excuses, and then after that happens, it's like, okay, now I want to take a break. I've been, basically working a 9 to 5 and then doing another 4 or 5 hours after that. And then now I'm tired. I don't want to have to do something right after work. I want to chill out. Those are the things where it's like, what if? And then what I'm going to say to myself is like, but if only I wasn't, once that situation's done, I would actually, the real me is a fucking successful YouTube star. The real me is actually making videos all the time. The real me is producing this dope content. The real me, when it's really like, I'm just gonna keep, or you're gonna just keep pushing it off until, and just so you can always have the possibility of what if? Or is the fear really that if you do put yourself on the line, put all this stuff out there, like I did back in like 2017, I did give it a real shot, you have to face that failure and you gotta feel it. And that's really what life's all about. And if for anybody that is having like this struggle where it's like you feel like you can't change, you feel like you want to make something different, you don't, and you're not doing it, is number one, be honest to yourself. Kind of like a motto I have is don't lie. And if you have to lie, don't make it to yourself, because you're the person you got to look in the mirror. You know when you're cutting corners, and you know the real reasons you're doing things. It's not the story that you made up to justify your position right now. It's for the goal that's in your head that nobody else can really see. Nobody else could tell you. It's something that you only know deep down. Now, you can lie to the rest of the world, but that's not going to change the pit you have in your stomach, that you're not facing your things and taking the next step. And that's really what I think people should focus on. Just taking that first step and taking the next one right after it. They do, like Lao Tzu says, the journey of 100 li, it starts at one step. And li was like a form of measurement. It's like 2 football fields or something. Or like 100 football fields or something like to that effect. But I digress once again. It's not the story that you tell yourself, the trauma argument about this, that, and the third, because that's just a justification of where you are now, to make sense of where you are now, to justify the position you're in, because nobody can live in a position they can't justify. So it's taking that next step, and the last thing I want to leave you with is deciding, what will I do from now on? That's all that matters. It's not poor me, poor situation that happened to me. It's not this bad person did this and that bad person did this to me. And it's, this is the situation I'm in. This is what I want. This is who I want to be. I decide my lifestyle every day and how I live my life. And that's what I mean by lifestyle. The way that you live your life every day. You get to decide that. Nobody decides that for you. And you making the firm decision to decide, what should I do from now on? Now that I'm here, what should I do from now on? I'm not going to dwell in the past. I'm not going to live in these visions of the future when the right time comes, because it's never the right time. I'm just going to decide in the here and now, because that's the only time where life is. What I'm going to do and what steps I'm going to take to move forward, and what am I going to do from now on. So that's it for this one. I'm telling you, I'm going to be pumping out this content. I'm going to start slow and pick it up. But if you liked the video, like, comment, subscribe. If you didn't like it, leave a thumbs down. I don't care. Any feedback will do. I like it all. Leave some negative comments, anything. Just be engaged. But you know what it is. And until next time, peace out.